I thought there's a track that I think the locals take. We're right on the ocean line. Does anyone here? I think Sue said she does that. Or yep. Yeah, Vicky. Sorry, Vicky. Yeah. So, except I got so far that I couldn't pull out, so I had to keep running and then heading back up to got out through the caravan park, and then I ended up back in there, and it was a really beautiful run and a little bit longer than I had expected. So really lovely area. It's a beautiful area too. So that's good, and it's been great to meet some of the church people here already. With James up the back there doing a great job, and Sue and Vicky and beautiful Elaine. Hello, Elaine. Lovely to meet you. I found out Elaine has been involved in some sort of missional support since she was 17 years old. How good is that? That's amazing. And Norm and Sue, thank you, and thanks for your hospitality. Thought I'd tell you a little bit about myself. Married to Tracy. We've been married for 36 years. We've got 5 children, 7 grandchildren, 2 that just popped up in the last 2 weeks, so that's extraordinary. Excellent. And I think if you were to sum up the Benicis, we would say that we're very passionate about child advocacy. That's pretty much spearheaded by my wife, Tracy. She's been in sort of child protection for most of her working life, and as a family, we've sponsored children for many, many years, 2 of which became Benicis, by the way, so that was gold. That's a big woo. And although we should have checked their DNA because they both tower over us, they're very tall boys. I guess our child advocacy journey started, was very personal for us when we lost our first son, and that's how it all started. And so I think over that time, and this was many, many years ago when we were just early a married couple, and God met us in that pain, and He's brought us real healing over the years by using that grief in a positive way, by helping us bless others and children. Obviously the children we had after Ben passed away, but also children that we fostered, sponsored, adopted, that in a way were able to aspire to and accomplish milestones in their life that our Ben wasn't able to. So it was a real healing process, and very much it just reminds me over and over that as God's people, God always brings good out of pain, doesn't He? And that's one of the great things that Christians can claim, that our God will always bring good out of sometimes extreme pain. And I think that's what gives us the capacity to love others in their struggles. It's an amazing gift that God has blessed us with. And so that was a big part of why I joined Compassion. I only recently started in January this year and really loving it. I had a look on your website, and you guys have got a fantastic church vision, which is basically a church family loving God and loving others. And it's just simple. It's beautifully simple, because that's what it's all about. And I'll probably a step further. I'd say you couldn't know how to love God unless you understand how much He paid for you when He died on that cross to pay for your sins and release you and restore you and bring you to rightness. And so, and that's my experience, my family's experience, and hopefully it's your experience. And that's what makes us able to love others. Today we're going to look in particular at loving the poor and the marginalised, and in that word that Pastor Eshwan raised in terms of compassion and mercy. So we're going to have a look at the word together, and then I'll share with you about who Compassion is, what they do on the ground. An amazing institution that really serves the people in the poor and marginalised areas immensely. But more importantly, I'll also invite you to sponsor a child. We've got some children there that need sponsoring at the end of the service, so you'll be invited into that as well. But more importantly, like I said before, if you can't understand the compassion that God has for you as an individual, as a family, as a community, it's very hard for you to love others. So I just pray this morning that you will get I'm sure you already know the love of God, but just to feel it and sense it even more deeply today. And that we share his DNA, that we've been given this wonderful gift and a mandate even to love others in the same way. So just to feel a little more about what Compassion's all about. So Compassion started over 70 years ago by a gentleman named Everett Swanson, who saw the need of around 35 orphaned, starving children in Seoul, Korea during the Korean War. And he started the very first orphanage that has just grown into this global mission. So over 70 years now, we're sponsoring 2.4 million children, and that's increasing by about 100,000 every year. So it's amazing. It's in 25 developing countries all over the world, in 9 or 10,000 local churches on the ground, Indigenous churches that run and manage the projects themselves. And even though the project is so big now, it is incredibly small and personal as well, where every child is known, loved, cared for and protected. I was fortunate to go on a mission trip 2 weeks ago, so I'm very excited about all the things I saw on the ground, particularly the overwhelmingly amazing work that Compassion does. You know, if you know anything about Compassion, you have sort of limited knowledge about what's happening, and you know it's good, but when you're on the ground, it is absolutely amazing. One of the best things about it, even when you're considering through your mission values and where you want to look at, and as Pastor Eshran was saying, when you look at the Compassion model, it's kind of, at least 3 out of those 4 things already inbuilt. The model itself is very simple and biblical. So it's Christ-centered first and foremost. So that means every one of those 2.4 million children will have the opportunity to know and love Jesus. So it's very evangelistic. And they are mentored, and they're connected with Christian people and discipled. So imagine that, 2.4 million children getting a discipleship model. It's church driven on the ground, because what we want to do is establish a local community where every one of those kids is able to connect with a community that's going to love them, care for them, and also protect them as well. And the third thing is it's child focused, because we know that if we can reach these children at a very young age, we've got a much higher chance of helping them break that poverty cycle as well. So it's quite comprehensive. It's wonderful. And so we're living out this God's mandate to care for the poor and the marginalised. But this kind of biblical model has always been there right from the beginning. And so when you look at the Bible history and for instance, right from the Old Testament, God is always drawing near to the poor and the vulnerable, and especially the widow and the orphan. Under God's law, Israel was meant to be a very different kind of community, wasn't it? It was the poor were provided for. I mean, there's this beautiful example of how God instilled in the law of Israel for when people were harvesting their crops, that they would allow the leftovers to fall, and then the poor would come after the harvesting had been completed, so they can have food and nourishment for themselves as well. Deuteronomy 24. Widows and orphans were protected from exploitation. Resources were shared so people could live with dignity. I don't know if you know the 7-year rule. If one Israelite owed money to another Israelite, every 7 years it would be scrubbed. Imagine that for our mortgages. That would be awesome. And when you get to the New Testament, that heartbeat, it doesn't change at all. The early church saw that caring for the poor was part of what it meant to follow Jesus. In fact, the apostles, when they talked about their shared mission values, one of those lines was simply, remember the poor, Galatians 2:10. And James picks it up in chapter 2, I think, there as well, to care for the orphans and the widows. And it's not because generosity that's how to earn your salvation. We know that's only by the blood of Jesus paid for you. But because people who have been loved by Jesus, they will love others in the same way. And so as I was reflecting on the idea of God's compassion for the world, I came across this beautiful passage in Luke 7, and I'll read it to you in a moment, where Jesus is walking into a town called Nain, and he's got a huge crowd following behind him. And then there's another crowd coming out of town, and they meet in the middle, right on the outskirt of the town, and that crowd is following because of a funeral procession. So it's an interesting kind of example, but I just want you to notice how Jesus engages with this widow in how he sees, he softens, and then he steps in. So let me read it for you. If you've got a Bible there, it's in Luke chapter 7, starting at verse 11. Luke chapter 7, verse 11. Soon afterwards, Jesus went to a town called Nain, and his disciples and a large crowd went along with him. As he approached the town gate, a dead person was being carried out, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow. And a large crowd from the town was with her. When the Lord saw her, his heart went out to her, and he said, "Don't cry." Then he went up and touched the bier they were carrying him on, and the bearers stood still. He said, "Young man, I say to you, get up." The dead man sat up and began to talk, and Jesus gave him back to his mother. They were all filled with awe and praised God. "A great prophet has appeared among us," they said. And this news about Jesus spread throughout Judea and the surrounding country. If you want to hold your Bibles there, because we'll jump into a couple of verses. It's not complicated, but it's simply profound. The first thing we notice in verse 13 is his mindfulness. He sees this woman. And I know it's a very small thing, but as Jesus comes into the town, he sees the woman, but he doesn't just see her visually, he sees her plight. He sees her present, her future, and he sees the effect. He sees this that is and the implications of what's going on. She becomes the focus of his attention. Now, it doesn't say that explicitly in the text, does it? But out of all these people, but we know Luke frames her in the gospel as the object of Jesus' attention. We know that for certain. He sees her. And we know it's an active vision as well. And I think this is the most important thing about the seeing part, which means he's seeing with a view to some kind of active participation. And we know this because we've read the text, right? We know what he's going to do. So we know he's seeing with a desire to act. And somehow the writer Luke also has inside information. The dead man is the only son, it says, of his mother, and she is a widow. So this is not just a sad situation. This is a really, really awful situation for this poor woman. And in the ancient world, it's very much vulnerability. It's not only the loss of someone you love, it's the loss of protection. It's the loss of provision. It's the loss of security. So she's walking behind the coffin, and in a way, in a very real way, it exemplifies the end of her life as well, doesn't it? It's quite tragic. And this is the moment where I think most people either think it's too hard and what can I do, and it's easy to sort of hide in the crowd. You can just blend in. But Jesus doesn't do that. He's already seeing with a intent to act. I remember when I was in second year Bible college, and many years ago now, we planted a church in our in a lower class area in the west of Penrith, New South Wales. And it was an afternoon service, and two of the guys came in and said, "Mark, we found this guy in a park, like in the middle of a park. He's homeless, he's got nowhere to go, he doesn't have a job. I think he's been on something as well, like he's been smoking something, and so they brought him in, and they said, you should take him in." So, being very naive, I took him in, and you know, I've got to say, 22-year-old young man, and I've got a family of 3 young kids and a wife, and I took him in, and I can tell you right there and then I wasn't seeing Ryan. I was really quite more kind of feeling around the safety of my children. You've got some young children there, and you know, you want to protect your kids, and so that's the mindset that I went in with. But my kids and my wife, they had a completely different mindset. They saw Ryan. They saw his what he was going through. They saw where he was at, but more importantly, they saw where he could be. And they loved him and loved him and loved him. And you know, within that night turned into a week, that week turned into a month, that month turned into 3 or 4 months. And by the end of it, he gave his life to the Lord. You know, we were able to find him a job, and he got settled in his head, got him accommodation. And even like, this was 25 or 30 years ago, you wouldn't believe it, he called me about 3 weeks ago and said, "Mark, I just want to tell you how much I love being with you guys, and I'm so thankful for what you've done for me as a family." And you see, those kids loved Ryan because they saw him. And Jesus sees this woman in that same way. This is a slideshow of some kids coming up at the Compassion Project we were at a couple of weeks ago, as I said. We had such a good time. We were there for a couple of hours, and we had the opportunity to, you know, play with them and play tip and tag and toy planes and frisbees and all that sort of stuff. And each one of these little boys, guys, is now part of a project. Do you know why? Because some beautiful sponsor picked them, saw them, and someone saw who they were, but even more powerfully, they saw who they could become. And they have aspirations now. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few moments. Someone saw who they could become because they had an active sight to what they could do with these children. When Jesus sees, he sees with active sight. So he sees the woman. And from that point on, it's interesting, isn't it, that his heart softens. He softens towards her. So if you continue on there in verse 13, when the Lord saw her, his heart went out to her and he said, "Don't cry." Now, in the original Greek, that word splungnon, I think it's pronounced, or splunknon, or it actually means a physical gut-wrenching feeling towards someone. You've ever heard that term? I've got this gut-wrenching feeling in my heart when you see someone's pain or their suffering, or that's what Jesus felt for this woman when he saw her plight and he saw who she was and what was going to be the outcome for her. Have you ever felt that sort of pain for someone? It's not nice, is it? I remember when our 6-month-old baby Zach came into our care a few years ago while we were fostering. Beautiful baby, but he had what was called failure to thrive. I'm trying not to get emotional about it because it affects me every time I share this story. He came to us with failure to thrive, which if you've heard of the term, means the baby's been left in a cot or circumstances where they've had hardly any interaction with a human being at all. So they might give them a bottle to feed them and they'll just leave them in the cot. And they haven't developed any facial recognition skills or any ability to engage with another human being. And so Zach came to us with just a really plain face, no emotion, undernourished, malnutritioned, listless, and it broke me. It broke my heart for how someone could do that to a baby. Like, it was just tragic. But I thank God that he broke my heart for what breaks his heart, because I'm quite a hard person to break down. I'm not an emotional person by nature, but that kid absolutely broke me down. Some of us need to have our hearts broken for what breaks God's heart. We need to press into God and ask for that heart of compassion so we can really see, and not just see, but soften in that moment as well. This is Dwee, another beautiful young adult that we met in one of the compassion projects. She's 17 now, but she's been in the project since she was 3 years old. Guys, if it wasn't for compassion, she would never have any aspiration beyond where she was, probably farming on someone else's land, pulling up crops. But she is about to enter into an accounting degree at 17, so she's just about to graduate from the project. The tragic thing is, in 2021, her father passed away. So if it wasn't for beautiful people like yourselves who have seen, softened and acted, she would never be able to aspire to that goal of becoming an accountant. And look at her, she's beautiful and she's so positive and confident, and she's ready to go. He sees, he softens, and then he steps in. He says, "Don't cry." Verse 14, then he went up and touched the bier they were carrying him on, and the bearers stood still, and he said, "Young man, I say to you, get up." The dead man sat up and began to talk, and Jesus, it says, gave him back to his mother. I love that line. It actually shows the purpose of Jesus. Now, a lot of the times Jesus does miracles. I don't know if you notice, or healings and that. He does them on a Sabbath to have, and there's always an interaction. There's always a reason why. And he has compassion, but he's also trying to reorient the mindset of the Pharisees around the whole idea of Sabbath and all those sort of things. But here, right here in this moment, and I would say that everything we do in our acts of love should come out of a biblical mandate, right? Like, so discipleship is first, and then we know the love of God because he loves us, and then we learn to love other people, and then we get involved in mission and love and community projects and mission projects and all that sort of stuff. But right here, he just loves on this woman. And the whole aim is to restore her relationship and social dignity. And so he saw, he softened, he stepped in, he takes action. And it says, the response, the crowd is filled with awe. And they said, God has come to help his people. So I just want you to see that in Jesus, there is a very big theme in all of the Gospels of restoration. That God has come in flesh and he starts restoring. Not, he heals people, he calls out demons and exorcises them. He restores the elements and calms the seas. But very much so he's restoring dignity for the poor and the marginalised as well. And that's our mandate, that's our gift, that's our God-given, hope that we could be involved in that sort of work as well. And so God's people, we see, we soften, we step in, and it's the mind and heart and hands of Jesus bringing dignity and justice to the poor and the vulnerable of our world. And that's the power and authority that he has given us as well, isn't it? That we can do such things under God. It's amazing. Pastor Rante, this guy, of his own accord, was able to get himself out of poverty. So we were in two projects. I can tell you it's in Indonesia, but I can't exactly tell you where. He came from that area and he found himself, he was able to get out of poverty and ended up in Jakarta and had a great job. He was working for a Greek manufacturing company, supervising a number of teams on a great salary, had a house, he had his own house. And that's extraordinary. And then he encounters the living God, becomes converted and decides he needs to go back to the place of poverty that he grew up in so that he could become a pastor. And so he does. And now he's running two compassion projects in a predominantly like 99% Muslim country. But he is a man driven by the heart of God, maybe 95% Muslim country. And he heads up 2 compassion projects, and his worldly riches that he has lost have been replaced with his eternal riches that will never fade. And he's making a difference. He's on the ground, stepping right in. Guys, everywhere you go, there are people in the third world on the ground, in the projects. These pastors, like there are 10,000 churches on the ground with compassion, pastors like this holding the ground for us. And then we've got people like you on the other side of the world seeing these children, softening and stepping in to see their aspirations for the future. And they are supporting from the other end. It's this beautiful synergy with the people of God. And so everywhere you go, there are stories like these. I want to show you a short video of a gentleman named Edward. I'm not going to tell you about it. I'm going to let him tell you about it. It's an extraordinary story.
The community that I was born in experienced one of the worst outbreaks of HIV, and a big portion of the community was devastated. It was, whenever those memories come back, my passion is reignited to do something about it. So I lost my father. I was told I was probably about 3 months, so I did not get to see him. So I grew up with my grandmother around that time. She really loved us, but things were not really as easy for her. And when she heard of Compassion International, she reached out and asked if I could be taken in. There would be lots of play. I would have people teaching us, but most especially for us kids, we liked the food. And we come to appreciate education later, but initially it is the play, it is the fun, it is the gifts that make, is a big thing for a child. In the Compassion program, I was sponsored by a family from Australia, the Anschel family. That's one of the most beautiful, most amazing moments I will ever remember in my life. They had their children write to me, and one of them, especially Heather, she used to write to me and would address me as brother. I felt, this is family. So I was telling people, I have a sister and brothers and mama and papa in Australia as well. So it felt, from that point, it felt more like a family away that I only imagined about. What did I learn? How am I helping my grandmother? How did I perform at school? My sponsors used to say that they believed I would have a good future. They believed that I would study. When I told them eventually in 1995 that I wanted to be a doctor, they affirmed these things. So giving a child affirmation over things that may sound like wild dreams for them is a strong thing, is a powerful thing. Currently, I am a medical doctor, an HIV research scientist, and my work is to find a cure for HIV. For everyone living with HIV, I'm hoping for an HIV-free world in my lifetime. I had thought about it for a long time. I have to meet the Anschel family and say thank you. To Newcastle, my mind was filled with thoughts. What will I say to Papa and Mama? What will I say to my brothers and sisters? I was trying to find the right words to say thank you.
Family's powerful, isn't it? Even overseas, it always gets me. I love Edward's story, and I love it when he said, giving a child affirmation over things that may sound like wild dreams is a good thing, is a strong thing, it's a powerful thing. And that's because everyone just needs to know someone believes in them, and that's the power that we give to these children. First of all, most of them build a relationship with Jesus and knows God is now on their side. And then they find a strong sponsor that can encourage and help them aspire to things. Now, obviously, not everyone's going to become a doctor that's searching for the cure of HIV, but whatever changes happen in the life of a child, it all starts with hope. That life is going to be different. And you, brothers and sisters, give these children hope. It's a beautiful thing. And the wonderful thing is that a child sponsorship is only less than $2 a day. So for $55 a month, that covers all of their food, their education, their discipleship and mentoring, and connects them to a local church. My wife and I, we have three sponsors. We've got Coffee and Asita and Anna. And they write letters to us, we write letters to them, and they aspire to things. Coffee wants to become a teacher, which is excellent, so we encourage him in that. Asita is very good with languages, so she might become a translator or something of that sort. And Anna's our creative. She likes to draw and colour in and paint and that, so who knows? She might become our next Picasso. It's a real relationship. It's long term. We see them like our own children, and we want to encourage them to reach those goals. And it gives them real hope that life can change. So it costs us less than $6 a day, and honestly, we do not miss $6 a day. But that $6 is going to change their lives eternally, and so we're just grateful to be involved in that relationship with them, and what Compassion has been doing for kids just like these. So today I want to invite you after the service, if you can come down and visit the Compassion table. You can meet the children who are waiting to be sponsored, and if your heart's moved and you have the capacity to sponsor a child, let me know, and I will make that happen for you today. I want to say bless you. It's not often we move around churches all the time. I can see this is a vibrant church, and I can tell by the way you praise and worship. It's great. Thank you for this opportunity. Father Eshwan, thank you very much. Father. Sorry. I'm running with the family vibe. Brother. But let me pray for us, and thank you again for the opportunity. Dear Lord, won't you move our hearts today, Lord? Won't you help us to keep growing in our love and compassion particularly for the poor and the marginalised, the orphan and the widows? And won't you enlarge our capacity today, Lord, that we will be people like you who see, soften, and with soft hearts step in to change this world of poverty, one child at a time. In Jesus' name.